15 minutes after the hour, it is Crop Progress Tuesday, and that means checking out what USDA says, but also checking in with our good friends around the country. We were talking to Ed Serwin in Texas. We're going to go out to Whitehall, Maryland, and Ben Hushon from the mill, joining us every Tuesday to give us an update from his part of the country. What I can remember here, the weather map, a little cooler out there the last 7 days.
Good morning, Mark. Yes, it has. There's no dust storms in Pennsylvania or Maryland, that's for sure. Tim Ross talked about that in Iowa, but it started raining here last Thursday, Friday, Saturday. We saw a little bit of sun on Sunday, but the still cool. Even this morning, it's definitely jacket weather. You start with a jacket in the morning, but it's headed up. Warm weather, actually just about what I'd call perfect weather.
How about that? Now, you also have sprayers out in the field. Boy, you've done a lot of great work for our viewers and listeners here as well, taking a video here. Talk about what we're going to see spraying some wheat fields here. Is that right?
Yes, it is, Mark. It's interesting. 2 weeks ago, I talked to you that a friend down in Y Mills, Maryland, Mark Sultanfuss, said their wheat was in full flower. Mm-hmm. We have just reached that here, kind of over the weekend, today, tomorrow. A few varieties are a little bit behind, but full flower, which signals to us anymore in Maryland and Pennsylvania area that we must put a fungicide on to protect from head scab and possibly insecticide. But the big deal on wheat, when it goes to full flower, you got about 2 to 3 days to get protection on to keep that head clean.
Yeah, well, Mother Nature needs to cooperate there. Moving, and we can keep an eye on, we will keep an eye on that here. Some great up-close photos you have for us, though. And those folks tuning in on the radio here, it's hay season in Maryland and the area.
Well, as I said, the sun is out after some not-so-good weather. I tell you, I don't know how these farmers decide in the morning what they're going to do. There's so many things they want to get done. Mm-hmm. Last week, they chopped a little bit of rye and did some wet bales. This morning, standing in our store, two of us, my nephew and I, were like, what's that smell? It was drying alfalfa. And some of you that haven't grown up in the country, you've smelled it but didn't realize what it was. Hay, there is hay cut all around us. Again, sunshine. Tim Ross is telling us sunshine through Friday, so a lot of grass hay. We picked out some alfalfa there, and I had to drive out and get a picture of it because it's not very common in Maryland and Pennsylvania like it used to be.
Yeah, you got some round bales there that are covered. We just had a shot of that you took for us as well this morning.
Yep, that was some wet bales that they gathered up last week. It was some rye they wanted to get off and plant some corn this week. Very good.
And you got everybody in our newsroom singing Crimson and Clover here this morning from Tommy James and the Shondells here. But a reason of that, they're wrapping things up. A couple of pictures here with clover here, crimson clover, and wheat here using another cover crop. Talk about that.
Yeah, well, cover crops have certainly been a strong use in Pennsylvania and Maryland. Actually began in the 70s, stronger in the 80s and 90s. But I'm always intrigued by some of the newer uses. This grower, Paul and Fred Miller, planted crimson clover and wheat, and they have some beef cattle. So they got all the advantages of cover crop, held the soil, built organic matter, kept the live roots in the soil. And now they've got some feed for the cattle that they're, of course, going to plant corn right behind that, probably within a couple days after harvesting that.
Wow, how about that? So they can still plant corn there the 15th, 18th of May and have a short, 90-day corn then they plant?
Oh, until probably for another week, 10 days, you can still get away with 110, 105-day corn, depending on if you want to shell it or chop it.
Sure.
But there'll be corn planted here clear through the 20th of June without any issue.
How about that? Well, Ben, thanks for the update here. Mother Nature hopefully will cooperate here. A lot more sunshine. I know you need to get some warm weather degree days out in your direction, but appreciate the great pictures and video helping us get a good look, firsthand look of just like being there this morning.
Thank you, Mark. hope your viewers and listeners, again, it's a busy week for everybody across the country. We need to slow down and be safe. So we're here to talk about it next week.
Very good. Great message there as always. Ben Hushon from the Mill, Whitehall, Maryland, is where he's coming from here as always every Tuesday. You count on that for an update next week as well. We'll take a break, come back. I'll get you caught up in the grain and livestock futures trade after this. Again, our thanks to our good friend Ben Hushon from the Mill. Check out the website here. No matter where you are in the country, the Mill has a lot of great information, agronomic information here for crops wherever you may be. Some helpful hints as well. All right, we take a look at the grain and livestock trade, get you updated here. Let's go to the top of the order here and look at corn and soybeans, wheat, and we'll look at livestock here as well. Corn futures starting a bit weaker. Not a big decline here again, a quarter to a half a cent. We're right back on schedule here. Wow, what a week producers had, from 47 up to 71% of corn planted nationwide. So down a quarter cent to a half a cent in the corn trade right now. Soybeans higher yesterday, looking at a higher start this morning by 3.5 to 4.5. July up 4.5 at just short of the 970 level. November new crop is up a penny and a quarter, 962. How about the wheat trade? A lot of pressure there, 9, 10, 11 cents lower yesterday. The 3-week lows in wheat. They're still a bit weaker today, but a half a cent to 3/4 cent lower right now, so maybe building a little bit of a support in here. That's Chicago. Check Kansas City wheat futures, and the numbers there lower as well by 2 cents. July down 2 cents, 426.5. Check Minneapolis in the northern belt. Better conditions, putting a little bit of pressure there, down 1/4 cent across the board there. July 539 3/4. Cotton trade, a lot of pressure in cotton to start the day. Wow, have we ever? Down over $2 in July, 83.16. October down 77 points. Let's move over to the livestock side of the ledger and look at live cattle, feeder cattle, hog futures at this moment. Live cattle futures coming back off of their early low. They went down early on June, just in the first few minutes, down to 120, roughly 120.5, you could say. Right now, they're just over 122, so they've gained 40, 50 points from their low. Still down 35, but off of that low. August the same. August went down to 116.78. Currently 118.25 on August feeder or August live cattle. 118.25 down 55. And looking at the feeder cattle trade then. Feeder cattle down still over $2 on the May. That'll be on the board here for another week. August is in September more active. August feeder cattle down $1.23, 148.05, just above the 148 level. September, but they went down, by the way, below 146 at their low, 145.82 the low right now, and just over the 148 level. Looking at the lean hog complex here, we start with the lean hog complex here. June now at around a 650-point premium to the cash market. The 5-year average, June normally about a 500-point premium, so a little above that. But you remember back on the 1st of May, just 15, 16 days ago, June was like a 1,400-point premium to the cash. So they've narrowed that a little bit. We are higher, bottom line, in lean hogs. June up 75, right at 78 even, and July 45 points higher at 78.80. So we'll keep an eye on that, and our updated hog and beef cutout coming up here midday, couple hours.
Okay, thank you so much.
Sure,
Markets editor Mark Oppold.